Hello, Travis Simlinger here again from Progressive Coaching in Zurich, Switzerland. And today, Cognitive Distortion number 2, which is overgeneralizing. Now, there is a positive intent to overgeneralizing or to generalizing, not so much overgeneralizing, because think of it this way. If we touch a hot stove, for example, and then we burn ourselves, we can generalize that every time we touch a hot stove, it will burn us. This is adaptive. This is adaptive learning. This is how we learn. We form connections with things so that we don't need to overanalyze every single stimulus that comes our way, because we would quite literally go insane. The problem is when we do this too much, which is overgeneralizing, because this becomes maladaptive, when the results or the consequences of our overgeneralizing produce dysfunctional emotions and dysfunctional outcomes and behaviors. So overgeneralizing often shows up in relationships. For example, a person has a bad relationship, or maybe even a couple of bad relationships in a row. Maybe they're even cheated on. But then what they do is they draw the conclusion that all men cannot be trusted, all men cheat, or all women cheat. I don't trust any woman, they're all bad. And obviously this is completely irrational, isn't it? And without going into too much detail, but lay it out there anyway, what they've done there is they have said that because one or two people behave less than amicably, the rest of the female population or the male population must be just as bad. So completely ridiculous when we lay it out like this, but it's quite interesting how many people do hold this and experience this cognitive distortion. Another way that this typically can present is, let's say a person does a series of presentations at work, and they don't do the presentations as good as they would like. They feel like they could have done the presentation much better, and then they tell themselves, I always mess up giving presentations. I'm never good at giving presentations. Well, they've only done it 3 or 4 times, and what are they comparing their performance to? Are they comparing it to presenters that have given a lot of scores of presentations, or naturally gifted presenters? Or are they comparing themselves to themselves? Because really that's the only way to get a fair judgment. If we're improving even 1%, we are improving and we're going to get better. But when we hold this rigid overgeneralization that I always mess up, then we're probably going to create a self-fulfilling prophecy, because we're not going to be accessing anywhere near our full potential with that kind of cognitive distortion, this distorted thinking. This is language to look out for in yourself, and if you are also looking out for it in your friends and loved ones. I always mess up. I never do anything right. Nobody likes me. So these always, never, nobody, these absolutes are signal words for this classic cognitive distortion. So my number one go-to solution for this cognitive distortion, overgeneralizing, is to hold this thought up to the bright shining light of logic. Because more often than not, this distortion will not be able to stand the light and will melt away very quickly, as exemplified by the person in the relationship that now does not trust 4 billion men or 4 billion women. We ask ourselves, is this thought actually true? Is this thought actually true? And this is a fantastic question to ask ourselves, because it's like auditing our thoughts, isn't it? And it's making sure that we are not falling for any cognitive distortions. And when we realize it's not true, then we ask us the follow-up question, what is actually true? And now we're looking at specifics. We're coming down from the cloud of abstraction, and we will make some real progress in our emotional well-being and lead our behaviors in a much more functional way. Another thing that we can do is we can treat ourselves like someone we actually care about. What a concept, because it might sound strange, but when you think about it, many people will treat their pets better than they treat themselves. And they will do even more for someone, let's say an impressionable teenager that they love or care deeply for, let's say a child or a cousin, for example. So what we do is we commit to only saying things to ourselves that we would say to an impressionable teenager that is a family member that we love. So let's see how this presents. So for example, we don't do so well with our presentations at work, and we tell ourselves that we are a failure at giving presentations, and we say we always fail. So would we say this to this impressionable teenager that we care about? Of course we wouldn't. We wouldn't say this. So why do we say it to ourselves? So what we can do is commit from today to only saying things to ourselves that we would say to this imaginary impressionable teenager that we care for. And it's so amazing how this just changing what we tell ourselves completely changes our emotions and behaviors. But you really have to commit to this. Give it a go for 3 days and let me know in the comments how you go, because it really is a game changer, especially for people that have a lot of cognitive distortions and experience a lot of negative self-talk. Okay, so that is the 2 most common ways to deal with this cognitive distortion of overgeneralizing. Just to recap, so you can hold it up to logic, specifically by asking the poignant question, is this thought actually true? And if it's not true, what is? We can also, actually another one I'll add in there, we can say, is this thought helping me or hindering me? And if it's hindering me, what do I want to do about this? So ask a different question and get a better answer. And then we had the impressionable teenager strategy, which works well for many distortions. There are other ways, but they are the 2 most common ways. I will talk about other methods in the following videos. I'm going to make another 12 or so videos on more cognitive distortions, and we can sort of, as they overlap, we will end up with our favorite sort of methods to deal with these distortions. And you'll become very good at spotting your distortions and changing them, and you'll have your go-to methods. So I hope that video was helpful for you. If you got any value out of it at all, give it a subscribe and a like and all that sort of thing so that more people can see it and benefit from it. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers.